You've met with a terrible fate, haven't you? Video games are breeding grounds for incredible stories that have a unique way of experiencing them. Interactivity. You, the player, are able to take a role and play an active part in the events that transpire. And I find the best stories in video games are ones that lean on the player agency and utilize the unique properties of being a video game to its advantage to further the narrative going on or make events more emotionally resonant. Thank you all for 1,000 subscribers, and while it's a little bit late, let's begin our new Top 10 series, this time for the 10 greatest stories ever told in video games, at least in my opinion. Today we begin our adventure with my favorite Zelda game ever released, Majora's Mask, coming in at number 10. While Ocarina and Breath of the Wild have garnered much of the notoriety surrounding the Zelda series, and for good reason, whether it's through innovative mechanics and breathtakingly vast open-world experiences, or through well-implemented and thought-out puzzle mechanics and progression, Zelda games are naturally different to one another. But there's a very specific reason I put Majora's Mask above the competition. And for a bit of time, it was even my favorite game of all time. The story. While Zelda games have more narrative behind them than, say, Mario games, at least most of them, Zelda games normally have stories that are relatively simplistic in nature, and that's part of the charm. They are normally far more lighthearted in nature as well. But that's the thing, Majora's Mask isn't. It's a simple story, sure, but lighthearted it is not. Majora's Mask is arguably the darkest entry in the Legend of Zelda series, with a constant theme of despair, death, and other negative emotions emanating from every orifice of the game. It's very human in that regard. It's brilliantly constructed, utilizing the 3-day structure to incorporate a time mechanic. Normally, I despise time-based mechanics in games like that, as it rushes me and I don't like to have my actions dictated to that degree or in that way. But Majora's Mask is the exception. The time mechanic not only produces a beautifully constructed gameplay experience overall, but also furthers the storytelling and narrative devices and themes in the game, and takes them to the next level. The ever-looming moon that is iconic to Majora's Mask is going to crash into Clocktown in 3 days, and the game is broken up into these sections of 3-day cycles. NPCs have their own schedules, stories, and events that transpire at fixed times across that 3-day schedule, and it's up to Link, equipped with his Ocarina from Ocarina of Time, to solve the town's concerns and get a better lay of the land and clear the game's various dungeons to equip himself for taking on Majora's Mask to beat the game. You have the Song of Time as one of your arsenal of songs that you can play on your ocarina or whatever instrument you got that lets you manipulate the flow of time to speed forward to get to a specific event that you want to interact with or manipulate. You can slow time down or even revert time back to the start of the 3-day cycle. You run out of time and that's it. The moon crashes, game over, so you have to plan. And I love that hectic nature that is behind pretty much every decision you make in Majora's Mask. It's brilliantly implemented. What do you want to accomplish or learn in this cycle that you can utilize or take with you into the next? Because sometimes that's all you'll get is as just plain out knowledge. No item, no equipment, no nothing. Just knowledge of how the world and characters work. There's no penalty to using the Song of Time. Just any progress that you made in the overworld would have to be redone unless it's specifically a song you learn or a mask or something like that. So say if you spend the entire 3-day cycle reuniting separated lovers or helping two people come together and find true love, you feel like you accomplished something good and was able to bring back a mote of positivity to this hellscape teetering on the brink of destruction. But the clock is about to strike midnight on the final day, and while you yourself benefit from having received an item from that questline that will carry over for you, you must still play the ocarina and the Song of Time to undo all the good you had just performed. You feel a bit selfish. You benefited, straight up. But those characters go back to the same predicament they were in before. And that feeling of guilt is pervasive and integral to the overall experience because the story is furthered and the emotions you experience as the player are directly linked, get it, to the choices and decisions that you undergo in the game. The beautiful thing about Majora's Mask is that your actions, your input is required for the story to continue. It's not just a bunch of cutscenes to convey story with sections of gameplay in between creating a dissonance. The gameplay and story of Majora's Mask are woven together to create a quilt stronger because each thread supports each other. And while the overall plot of Majora's Mask is quite simple, it's still good in my opinion, as you learn about the predicament and lives of the people that populate its world in various regions. You truly come to understand each NPC of Clocktown and the various towns on the perimeter of the map. Combine that with fun and interesting gameplay thanks to the mask mechanic letting you transform into various characters with unique abilities that are really fun, by the way. And Majora's Mask is an overall experience that is truly rare in gaming. It remains as one of the only, if not the only game I have ever truly 100%ed, just because I wanted to experience each individual quest in the log and the events. And because of how expertly done it all is, honestly, I think Majora's Mask may have the most memorable world in all of Zelda for me. At least in comparison to, say, Ocarina of Time, just because of the time mechanic, and how integral that was to getting to know each individual NPC's story and character in the world of Majora's Mask and Termina. And the funny thing about stories is that they don't need to be complex with tons of character development. Sometimes those simple little stories hold the line all on their own through endearing characters and powerful themes that hold it all together. And for Majora's Mask, it has all of that on top of a great layer of interactivity that brings it all together. It has a far darker tone, like I said before, than the rest of Zelda. Twilight Princess is arguably the only one that kind of gets there, but even I would argue that Majora's Mask is far more psychologically dark than Twilight Princess, and I really love how they handled it in Majora's Mask. They made dang near every NPC feel important and have a character. They made Clocktown come alive because of that, and how every character has their own story and algorithm of events that they are going to pursue whether you interact with them or not. It is a beautifully constructed game where you can feel the passion and love behind every decision. Are there some annoying spots? Yeah, sure, the spider dungeon is a bit annoying, sure, but the strengths outweigh the cons, in my opinion. Far more. To where I only just remembered the spider cave, or the spider puzzle bit. Going through quest after quest, you learn the lay of the land, you learn Clocktown, you learn Termina, you learn the cast of characters, and how they interact with each other till you know it all like the back of your hand. Oh yeah, and the UI is so freaking charming. Look how they display the clock. Everything feels like it works. As style, as personality behind all of it. That just adds to the immersion and adds to the overall experience, to make the story more resonant. It's brilliantly paced, planned out, and executed to deliver a cohesive experience that stands the test of time. I first played it on the 3DS in college as a way to relax in between difficult coursework and scheduling. And all these years later, I started on the Nintendo Switch to get B-roll for this video, and it's just as brilliant as I remember it being, and I didn't want to stop because it was that much fun. And it was honestly pleasantly surprising just how naturally I remembered all the characters and layout of Clocktown, like I had never even left. I just went into Clocktown, and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember this character, this character, this character, this character, these characters, oh yeah, the juggling characters, the observatory, it all just came flooding back to me. The bank, oh my god, the bank. The bomb bag side quest, Honestly, I may have missed out on Majora's Mask when I made my top 10 games of all time list. Maybe it just slipped my mind, or I overlooked it for whatever reason. Maybe, it's been too many years. Probably because I only played it on the 3DS, and was mainly thinking of standard console and PC games when I made my top 10 list. But Majora's Mask is not only one of my favorite games of all time, but it's one of my favorites for no small part because of its story and storytelling, and how both of these, or those aspects, work off of each other to create something truly special, and one that I fully recommend. Sure, it may have aged a tad over the years, at least in terms of controls, especially if you're playing it on the Switch with that N64 port they have. But the product is of such high quality that it bucks a lot of trends that people may think are normal or taboo for blockbuster releases. A lot of assets are taken from Ocarina of Time, like a lot of them. Even straight up characters. Hell, the main villain was a character from Ocarina of Time. And pretty much all the other NPCs can pretty much also be found in Ocarina of Time, but they're just different characters. Just the assets have been reused. So I'm pretty sure Skull Kid was actually just a character from Ocarina. And these assets were taken in order to aid its short development cycle, at least from my memory of that. Not like I was a developer, but just I remember reading about that, or hearing about that. And the idea of running through Clocktown over and over and over again may seem repetitious and off-putting to some. I could already just see what the comments would be if this game had released in the modern day. Heck, I'm kind of seeing them again with Tears of the Kingdom, where people would probably call it lazy for not having completely new assets or feeling too much like the old one, but the idea of running through Clocktown over and over and over again It all just works and flows and makes the game feel like Ocarina mechanically in some ways, but stand all on its own and make Termina feel like a truly engaging world with amazing characters and amazing stories that populate its entire experience. And honestly, sure, a lot of assets may be taken from Ocarina, but Majora's Mask is my favorite Zelda, and I'll take it any day of the week. I love this game. I love Ocarina as well, it's just Majora's Mask resonates more with me because of what I've talked about in this video. It's my favorite Zelda, one of my favorite games, and absolutely one of my favorite stories ever told. And that, everybody, was number 10 in my top 10 list of video game stories. Next time, we'll cover number 9. Maybe next time I'll learn how to count. So thank you all for tuning in. My pleasure making the video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out and helps support future content, and I greatly appreciate it. Stay safe, everybody. Have a great day. Hit the bell icon to be notified when I upload in the future. Stay safe, everybody. Have a great day. Go play some video games if you can. And as always, I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye, everybody.